brought to you by Bethel School of Technology. Learn more at betheltech.net/Ken Coleman.
So I've been in the workforce 25 years. Started out as like a front-end web developer, as an individual contributor for probably about the first 15 years. Then moved more into leadership and really found, your word, sweet spot, coaching people, mentoring them, helping to be a liaison between other teams, and really love that. But here I'm, 25 years in, and Wednesday got laid off for the fifth time in my career. Yeah. And, it's not personal, but
no,
it feels personal.
It does. It sucks. I'm sorry.
It's good. I've always had a positive attitude when it comes to this. When one door closes, another opens. Just hopefully that hallway isn't crazy long between
Isn't
them.
that the truth?
So, I guess what I'm calling, I've worked, in advertising, marketing, digital agencies. I've worked in embedded companies. The last role was a remote one. I'm here in Raleigh, but worked for a company out of LA, which had some pros and cons. But I guess the crux of my call is, should I be looking at other industries or another way to work, with those leadership skills, the management stuff I like the most? I still code some stuff for my own personal websites and passion projects, but day to day, I'm, leadership in meetings, liaisoning with the other teams. And I love that.
Well, I think the simple answer is yes, you should be looking at anything and everything. And I think we start at looking at, what do we learn from 5 of these? Are there any discernible patterns or commonalities in being laid off 5 times in the tech industry?
Well, being on an engineering or development team in a company that's not the only focus, when things get tight, you're expendable.
What do you mean by it's not the only focus?
So like I've worked, at advertising agencies where they do video for, long form and short, trying to go viral stuff. But then they also offer websites and web applications. And, when things get tough, for whatever reason, the development teams always have been an island. Great.
Okay, that makes sense to me.
Different.
That makes sense. Well, that makes sense to me because you are not you aren't developing the main product or the main service. You are supportive to something that's more of an ancillary product or service. Is that the history of what you've been doing?
Yeah, for the most part. The last gig, it was brought on we're an e-commerce company, and they decided to use something off the shelf. So we moved all our e-commerce sites over to, I don't need to name it, but a big, software platform, and kind of code ourselves out of a job once that transition was done.
So there are some patterns, and so that first answer, has that been more of the theme? You've not, it's not like you're in a full-blown technology company at all. It's you're performing a technology service for the company, and so they start cutting when they need to cut, and that you guys are the first ones to go.
Yeah, 4 out of the 5 for sure. That's been the case.
Okay.
My take.
No, but I think your take is right. So in coaching you, I would be looking at that and going, okay, it feels as though 4 out of the 5 times it's happened because I'm in a expendable group. And so how do I take my skill set and experience and put myself in a less expendable role?
Right.
Make sense?
It does. Yeah.
So we start there. Now, again, I'm not trying to make you answer that on the spot here, but I think that's the critical thinking that we've got to start with. Okay. So I've got a very valuable skill set. The coding, even though I know you've been leading a lot, you still have that skill set. What are some skills you can add? What do you need to update? I would be doing that aggressively, because I think you are a dual threat. If I can use a football analogy, you can throw the ball and run the ball. Running the ball would be, you can actually code, and then throw the ball. You can lead. You can lead techies, and that's a unique deal. Am I right?
It is, yeah.
All right, so I'm looking at. I don't think you have to do. Listen, if you want to think about doing something different, that's fine. I've given you the construct, and if you don't have my assessment, I'll give it to you today with the book. Find the work you're wired to do. It's got the assessment in it, and I want you to go. Okay, what is available to me out there based on what I'm good at, what I enjoy doing, and results that motivate me. So I think looking at everything is a great idea, but I think the first glaring reality or lesson that I'm learning with you right now is I probably should be working in a company where we're the offensive line, not special teams players.
Right.
Because they're going to cut special teams guys before they cut a good lineman.
Yeah, you want to put 7 on the board, not 3.
Okay, I love when I'm talking to somebody who understands my football metaphors, because I do think that's the best example.
Yeah. And Ken, that's something that in interviews and in, when there's free form that I put in there a lot. I've got 2 boys that are heavily into sports, 3 sports. And I've, as you've talked about too, when they're younger, you coach them as a volunteer, in recreation and all that. And I really love that too. I've gotten to see those kids grow, and I always use that as an analogy in interviews.
Yeah.
But I think it sometimes falls flat because not everybody, but that's just more on the leadership side. That's what I feel like I'm strongest at. The code, I can get by, and, and I do need to retool, but I've not done as much of that in the last 10 years.
Here's my point on that. And I don't want to get in the weeds on that, but my encouragement is I would upskill and retool, to use your phrase, because of the opening article I shared today. I got to tell you, man, you're extremely valuable in your ability to lead, but to the extent right now that you could get some freelance work and some specialization. So if you want to specialize in leading tech people, I'd start to build that brand. I think it's a good brand. Hey, I'm really good at leading tech people. I speak their language. I know how to coach them. So I think you're looking for those kind of roles because you love leading people. But let me also just say, if you can lead programmers, you can lead project managers.
Right.
If you can lead programmers, you can lead salespeople. I really believe that.
Yeah, 100%.
So I think for a guy like you, you've got a really robust leadership resume, correct?
Correct. 10 years. I mean, obviously.
Yeah, but good companies.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
And by the way, you weren't fired at any of these jobs.
Never.
No. And I'm guessing you've got good recommendations from those companies. You've got a pretty stellar reputation. It was like, there's nothing that Ryan did. He was a victim of a layoff. He's a good dude, right? We got that narrative?
Yeah, and actually that's been the outpouring, when you put that message on LinkedIn and people repost and, say nice things about you, it feels authentic and genuine. And, I definitely have that in my back pocket.
My man, I guess my point is you've done this before. You're going to be able to do it again. I don't think you need any ideation from me. I think you just needed some encouragement. And my encouragement is I don't think that you have to necessarily strike into something completely new, but I also, if you want to go lead a sales team, see, companies need good leaders, man.
Yeah.
And if you're using the proximity principle, you're in the Raleigh area, there are jobs there, I'm guessing. And they need people who know how to lead, man. Day one, they can come in and be a steady locker room presence. Here I go again with my sports metaphor. But I think that matters. So my encouragement to you is you got lots of options, but I don't think you need to question, anything. I think you know what you love to do. You know how to lead. So whether you're leading tech or sales or project managers, I think you need to be in a management role. And I think that if you can tie yourself to a role that is not an easily expendable role, like for instance, I don't think I'd ever go the route again of leading a tech team that works for an ad agency because you just know how that could potentially go, know? So for instance, at Ramsey Solutions, if you're leading a tech team that's tied to every dollar, I'm going to tell you right now, you ain't expendable.
Yeah.
It's our flagship digital product, right?
Yeah, using it every day.
So there you go. So yeah, man, I just want to encourage you. I think you're okay, and I think you're on the right path in your mind. And stick with it, man. You can do this. I'm here to help. Launch your tech career today at betheltech.net/Ken Coleman.